Michael Gish here, owner and inventor of Total Golf Training. Today I want to show you the full demo of everything that our TGT Hip can do, and then there's always going to be more added value to it with other settings specific to maybe something you're working on. We're going to do our lead hip setting. So just putting this product on, if we grab the little knuckle, it is tight for tolerance. That being said, it has to fit onto the girl's skirts, and it also has to fit onto thin fabric. But as you can see, if I slide it behind my belt and I grab this little knuckle, I can pull it open to slide it down over my belt. So we're going to start with the lead hip setting, and we're just going to get this pointed straight out. Now, this setting just pointed straight out is going to be really good for posture, number one. So what type of posture am I in? I don't want to sit back and have the rod pointed up. I want to make sure that I've got these abs flexed in, maintaining a little flatter lower back, not so much cup where I really got it pointed to my toes. I want to make sure it's kind of pointed out towards my target line, and then maintain that point as we wind up in the backswing. So we don't want to wind up and start getting that training rod pointed more level. We don't want to wind up and do too much dipping. We want to make sure that this training rod works level, stays pointed at the same level of the ground on the backswing. What also is going to give us a visual into how much our hips are turning or moving laterally in our backswing. So whether you're trying to stay more on top of the ball, rotate more around that spine, you're going to see this ball stay more center to your lead side. And if you're someone who's going to create a little more lateral in your backswing, you're going to see this red ball moving to center to the right side. This is going to give you great visual feedback on what you're actually doing with your body. Once again, this is something that, besides having the biomechanics set up on, you are not going to be able to get feedback on this unless someone videos a swing, you stop and look at it, you analyze it, and then you get up and try to hit another one. Simply with the TGT Hip, you're going to be able to see visually every single time how much you're turning. So you'll know if you do this versus this, one swing to the next. It gives us that instant feedback that nothing else out there can give us on hip movement. Going here, I really love this lead hip setting for a power squat downswing. So it's been talked about a lot, the golf swing starting by creating some downward movement towards the ground. Well, now I want to get feedback on that. So what I like to do is take the last 4 to 5 inches of my training rod here, and I like to bend it down, pointing it straight down. Now at my address position, I've got about a hand's width of space between the ball and my lead thigh. As I wind up and start that downswing, the goal is to get that red ball behind the lead thigh, working around the lead thigh until I come up into my finish. So if I wind up and I come up and out of my posture, I'm no way going to feel that contact of the red ball to my thigh. If I wind up, create that downward squat and rotate around, I'll feel that ball running around my lead leg, giving me that feedback. I know I'm going to create more downforce power, and I'm going to be exploding off the ground and creating more speed and distance to my golf swing. Now from here, we're going to stay on the lead side, and I'm just going to move ports. So what that means is the TGT Hip has 4 ports. We have a lead port, a trail port, we have a top port, and a bottom port. So now I'm just going to take this long rod, I'm going to put it right in my top port, secure down the screw, and now I'm going to bend this out. So the dreaded chicken wing. This is an issue a lot of people struggle with. And again, how are you going to know whether you did it right or wrong? Unless you video your swing, unless you look at it, analyze it, and say, I didn't do that, let me try to do it better. With our training rod, if I pull in, I'll instantly know. I'll run right into the training rod, and again, if I hit the training rod hard enough, it'll just bend and flex away from me, giving me the correct feedback that I need to allow me to make these full swings with 100% effort, with no fear of hitting anything hard or hurting ourselves. So by bending it out, being able to rotate with no contact, avoiding that chicken wing and running into that training rod, this lead side setting, running up our side for this chicken wing is going to give you some great feedback on what you're doing. And now I'm just going to slide this off. We're going to straighten the training rod back out. I always recommend when you're using or bending any of our training rods and you're finished with them, always straighten them back out because it's going to add to the longevity of the training rod. And now I'm just going to slide this onto my trail side. Once again, sliding it behind my belt, pulling on that knuckle and sliding it over. I have a very wide belt today, so I'm making it as hard as possible. If I can get it over this, you can get it over anything. Now, from here, I want to work on this trail side. Once again, I'm going to work on arm movement. So a lot of people have a tendency of pulling, or what they call that lawnmower pull of that trail arm, and pulling the arms right in, pulling the club right inside. As you can see, I'll run right into this training rod. So if I rotate and maintain some good width in my backswing, keeping my arms connected to my body, avoiding my arms running inside on my takeaway, I can avoid contact to this. And then on the downswing, ultimately, I want to get my arms and that trail elbow back in front of the training rod. So if I get here and I have a tendency to drop the club too much, I'll run right into this training rod. So that is a added benefit of this setting. This setting is mainly for that trail arm movement. Avoid pulling that trail arm in our takeaway. Next, I'm going to get here, and now I'm just going to keep this training rod touching against my side of my body. So with the training rod touching my body, I want to keep it touching my body as I rotate through. This is going to help us create side bend. So a lot of players have a tendency to stand up or move away from the rod, creating space, standing up too tall. So if I keep this contact as I start coming down and feeling it on my back, even into my finish, it's going to give me feedback on maintaining some good side bend in your golf swing and avoiding tipping over or standing up too tall. Next, we're going to take this training rod, again, just slide it right out of our top port, and I'm going to slide it right into my lead port. Now, this is a setting that's going to help us with the takeaway as well as sequencing the downswing. To start with our takeaway, many people have used an alignment stick through the belt loops. Again, if it's just takeaway, fine. If it's anything that involves downswing, speed, you are going to be scared of hitting a hard stick. And it is a very dangerous drill. Every time I see it, I cringe in my face. With the flexible training rod, if I go my takeaway and I run into it, it's going to give me the feedback. But what's great about this is I can make it harder if I want to, or I can make it easier. So by simply bending the rod towards my toes or my target line, I've now increased the difficulty. Now I've got to create a little bit of turn and maintain that good width in my backswing to avoid making contact to the training rod. If I just go back with my arms, I'll run right into it. So making it a little more difficult, making yourself create a little bit more turn out of your lower body to keep the arms nice and wide in your backswing, and then coming on your downswing. This is where we can increase and decrease the difficulty based on the player. This is one of the more difficult things in the swing to actually feel and to correct. Mainly being there's nothing that's been able to give us feedback on downswing sequence. Again, we video, we analyze, we look at it, we point some things out, we go out and we try it again. With the TGT Hip, I could hit 100 balls and I'm gonna know for sure 100% of the time whether I did it right or wrong. And that is something that is invaluable when we're practicing, because with the value of understanding feedback, we are gonna increase and get better every single time we go out and practice. So now if I wanna make it harder, once again, I bend it a little more out. If I wanna make it easier, I bend it a little bit more in. And ultimately, if it's too hard right here in this parallel setting, we can slide the training rod out and put it in the back of the device. So everybody can get benefit from this. What you want to do is figure out where you're at right now. It's okay if you're back here. And if you are missing it back here or just nipping it back here, the more you practice, the better you're going to get. As you get it better, improve, make it harder. Eventually, you are in control. Put it back up into the lead spot when you feel like you're getting better and better at it, and increase the difficulty as you get better. There's no other products on the market that allow you this type of control of your own game. We're not presetting you to say this is how you have to start your downswing or this is how you have to start your takeaway. We're giving you the feedback to make sure that you can own exactly what you want to do in the takeaway and in your downswing sequence with feedback, correct feedback that's going to allow you to get better. So this is our TGT Hip trail side, lead side. Once again, what's great about the TGT products, you don't need to buy one for the lead or one for the trail. But let's just say you want to have two. Let's say we want to do a full alignment stick through the belt loops looking setup. I'm going to take another hip. I'm going to slide this on my lead side. I'll take another long training rod, pop it in here in the front, and we'll bend this out. So now I have the dual hip, this alignment stick setting, this real visual on what my hips are doing here. So you're going to give yourself really good visual on what your hips are doing. This is even great if you want to use this for putting, where we bring both of them out, limiting, or giving yourself stopping points in your putting stroke as well. So there's so many different ways to use the TGT products to give you maximum feedback, to allow you to be the one in control of your practice. When you're practicing, that's where you're going to improve. And if you're just out there beating balls with no feedback, you're not going to improve as fast as if you have correct feedback. If you use these in your lessons, I guarantee you're going to get more value out of your golf lessons. And I also guarantee your instructor will be happier because you're going to practice more efficiently, which in the long run is just going to overall get you better.